There is power in your story. Write and publish in 90 days. It's time to thrive and achieve.
Thank you for tuning in. A live stream new episode of the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show will be starting soon with your host, minister, and author Stephanie M. Seaton. If you would like to be a guest on the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show, email Stephanie at stephaniemseatontheauthor@gmail.com.
Hello, and welcome to another amazing episode of the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show. I am so happy that you have tuned in this week. We have got some amazing guests in the studio that we're going to be talking to. So please go ahead and like, tag, and share. If you have not subscribed, you need to go ahead and subscribe now. Tonight, I want to welcome Dr. Marvin Cotton Jr. into the studio. Welcome.
Thank you. Very honored to be here.
I am honored to have you here on the platform. I took a look at your platform maybe almost a year ago now. And I reached out just as a leap of faith, just like, hey, I'd like to interview him. And I kind of saw the book and what it was about. And listen, reached out and about a year ago, and then about 2 months ago, Dr. Marvin reached out, and here we are. And so I'm very excited to have you here. I have looked at your profile, read, excerpts from your book. I'm just like, wow. So my platform, Dr. Marvin, is about healing, empowerment, and transformation. One of the big things that drew me to your story was pretty much your life lines up with all three. So, you've got, sometimes things happen to us in life. And this was kind of what you were just talking about a few minutes ago. Things happen to us in life. And instead of us looking at things in a negative light, we have to get to the point, especially if we're believers in our faith, and look at, it was part of the process. It was part of the process, right? Absolutely. So tonight we are going to dig in. We're going to talk about all the amazing things that Dr. Marvin has going on. But let me tell you, my first question to all of my guests, Dr. Marvin, is please tell us, who is Dr. Marvin Cotton Jr.?
Well, thank you. I'm very honored to be on your show, Minister Stephanie. And, I'm a child of God. I'm a son of Detroit. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a homeowner. I'm a business owner. I'm a community leader. Those are, all titles that I'm very proud of. And I try to keep my duty to each of those titles. But, most importantly, I am a servant of God. I love helping people. I love doing what I believe God has for me to do, the call that he has on my life. Every day I'm trying to answer that call in everything that I do. So that's who I am.
That's amazing. I'm going to read a little bit about your bio, and just so that kind of paints the picture a little bit. And then we're going to dive in and kind of talk about some of the amazing things that you've got going on. So just to kind of let you guys know, first of all, you need to follow him on Facebook and all social media platforms so that you can see all of the causes that he's supporting and see how you can be of any type of assistance. Dr. Marvin Cotton Jr. But it's a story of resilience, redemption, advocacy, where Dr. Martin has a powerful voice Marvin has a powerful voice that, like, I looked at the city of Michigan. You're like all over the place. I was looking at so many different things. He literally has won so many different awards for speaking out about injustices and things that are going on, not just in the city of Michigan, but abroad. Having the courage, having the tenacity to be able to have went through the things that he went through. Dr. Marvin spent, let me be precise, 19 years, 7 months and 12 days behind bars, being falsely accused of murder and a felony firearm charge. Let me say that again: 19 years, 7 months, and 12 days. And he still got out on the other side and is now reaching back to help and to make a difference. I mean, that is the power of God in itself. Again, healing, empowerment, transformation. So we are definitely going to dig in and talk about the mindset, what his mindset was, what his incredible faith must have been like to, be able to make that transition to being behind the bars and now going back to help other people to get free. But he's got some amazing things going on. He's an author of a book, Better Not Broken. He has the LLC organization, Better Not Broken, co-founder of Organization of Exonerees. Just a lot of amazing things going on. He's also a former politician. And we love politicians, okay? So
somebody has to do it.
Somebody has to do it, right? So, that's not a popular word today with what happened today. But hey, so listen, let's dive in there, Dr. Marvin. Let us know, what was it like, family life? Paint a picture. Let us know, who was Dr. Marvin as a youngster in your younger years?
Some of my earliest memories was really my attachment to my mother. I was born premature, and my mother was 7 months pregnant when I was born. So I was born, I was like 3 pounds. I wasn't breathing. And, I had a lot of health issues. So I'm sure that's probably where that bond and that connection come from, being held probably more often. And I just remember just being up under my mother a lot. But I grew up in a very chaotic household. Biological father, abusive. Other relationships my mother was in was very abusive as well. So I remember as a young child just being afraid all the time and just wanting to not be afraid, wanting peace. That was like, my biggest desire as a child. And it kind of speaks to, who I am now, because if I walk into a situation and it's not peaceful, I dive right in to make it peaceful. I'm not afraid to make a chaotic situation peaceful. And my 20 years that I was in prison, wrongfully convicted, I was the same way. Even in that environment, I was the peacemaker. I was the one that was mentoring and helping men grow and stopping a lot of the nonsense that went on in that environment. But I grew up on the west side of the city of Detroit.
Okay.
And the neighborhood that I was born in and raised in right now is one of the most violent areas in the state of Michigan. And, that was the neighborhood that I come from. And it was pretty bad, 25 years ago, before I was wrongfully arrested and convicted. But it's really bad now. And there's certain areas in the city that's extremely poor. And the city of Detroit has never been a rich city. So that's the environment that I grew up in. I grew up, we grew up very poor. Grew up mostly with my mother, just my mother and my older sister and my younger brother. And that was my life, But as a child, something that really shaped who I am when I was in elementary school, I worried about my mother a lot.
Mhm.
I worried about her so much when I was in school that I wasn't paying attention, and I didn't learn how to read. I didn't learn how to write.
Right.
And that's something that a lot of people don't know about me unless they read the book,
Yeah.
is that I didn't learn how to read and write until I didn't start that process until I was 21 years old, when I
Mhm.
was sitting in the county jail fighting these false charges. Um, and just so your viewers know, as you said, I did 19 years, 7 months, and 12 days
Mhm.
in prison for something I did not do. And I've been out now for a little over 4 years. I got exonerated a little over 4 years from a natural life sentence. I had a life sentence. And here
Wow.
in Michigan, life means life. Life means you die in there.
Yeah.
Uh,
But God.
yeah, absolutely. But God. And
Yeah.
that's what was on my shoulders
Yeah.
for all of those years. And it was a constant fight in order to get out of there. But the childhood and the way that I was raised, the toughness of Detroit, the toughness of my neighborhood, that
Mm.
type of grit is what is part of the thing that allowed me to persevere through that situation.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Let me that whew, it's a lot to take in. I remember when we first talked, there were a lot of things that you revealed to me in that first conversation that I didn't get off the page. And I remember thinking to myself, when you said that's when you learn to read and to write, I was like, wow. And immediately it came to mind, like the Lord allowed you to sit down because he had a plan and a purpose. And that's kind of like what we were talking about a few minutes ago, the process. When we go through some stuff, we never know what God's plan is because he can't tell us everything all at one time. We would run from it.
Absolutely.
Um, but have you thought to yourself now, Dr. Marvin, like when you were a child to now, how do you process that was part of the process? How do you think about that now?
Um, it's interesting because when I was a really young child, always had feelings of greatness, but I
Mm,
actually never had a view of what it looks like.
mm,
Um,
that's deep.
but growing from being a child to a teenager and a young adult, I lost that feeling,
Mm,
but I remember having it as a child.
mm,
In the process of, prison, it all goes together, the way we were raised and the tough things that we go through.
mhm.
And prison, calling it tough is really an understatement and an insult. But it was a necessary process
Mhm.
to shape me into the man that I am today, to
Yeah,
do the work that I'm doing. Doesn't mean it didn't hurt.
yeah,
It hurted a lot, and I
yeah,
lost a lot. I'm still impacted and affected from what it is that I went through a lot.
yeah,
But it shaped me to be able to do the work that I'm doing to alleviate others from going through the same pain that I went through. But
yeah,
without going through a process, it's impossible to bake a cake and missing steps of what it takes to bake a cake.
yeah.
The end result is not going to come out.
Mm-mm.
It's not going to come out like
Not gonna be
grandma's
quite
cake.
right.
It's
Yeah,
not going to come out. It's not going to look like grandma cake if
yeah,
you're not following the steps that grandma taught.
right.
And sometimes we wish we, like, why me? Why do I have to go through this? Because it's
Hmm.
a part of
Hmm.
the ingredient that God is making you into.
Yeah,
And I knew that early on, although I didn't know what it looked like early on. I wanted to be better. I didn't know what better looked like.
right.
But I knew from the very beginning that I was going through it for a purpose and a reason, and I knew it was divine.
Yeah, yeah. Um, as you were talking, I was just thinking to myself, a lot of people are like, what is my purpose? What is it that the Lord wants me to do? And what I have found is that thing that puts us in the hard place, or that thing that happens in the hard place, is usually our place of ministry.
Oh,
That very call on your life had to take you to where you'd be able to witness and minister to the very people you had to experience what they went through so that you could actually understand and be able to
absolutely.
minister to them. I know that I found that for myself as well, some stuff that I went through earlier in life. And it's like, why did I go through that? But now I'm ministering to broken people. But guess what? I wouldn't have been able to minister to those broken people if I hadn't at one point been broken. Because
That's right.
anybody can say, oh, it's okay, get over it. But no, if you haven't felt it, if you haven't been through it, just telling somebody to get over it, it doesn't work like that, right?
Yeah, if you want to know your purpose, all you got to do is reflect and remember where you were burnt at. When you were in the fire. When you were in the fire, that being in that fire, your purpose is wrapped up in there.
So I got this thing on the show, Dr. Marvin. Anytime somebody says something like amazingly profound, you got to say it again, and you got to say it slow. So say that again. You got to go to your place of fire. Say that again and say it slow so everybody in the back can catch it. Say it one more time.
Absolutely. When you're looking for your purpose or wondering what your purpose is, we all get to the point where we just want to know what it is that we were born to do. What am I supposed to be doing? When you look at the fire or where you were sitting in the fire, where you were burnt at,
Jesus.
Sometimes the pain is excruciating. So you don't want to remember that. But if you can get past the pain, you can see the purpose.
Jesus.
All you have to do is get past the threshold of the pain, and you'll see your purpose. Pain has a purpose.
Yeah.
Pain is indicating that something is wrong.
Yeah. Something
is not right. Yeah. So anytime you have something that is not right, that means that there's a solution to that. But sometimes we can't see the solution because we so caught up on the pain part. But if you ever want to know your purpose, just study your life. Study all of the hard things you were going through, because that fire and that hammer was molding and shaping you to be perfect for something.
Wow.
And that's for you to know what it is. When God calls you through those situations, I can't hear God call for you.
Yeah.
I can't hear God's calling on you. Only you can hear the call, and only you can answer the call. That's why everybody around you, when you're going through things, they don't know how to respond. They don't know how to support you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's personal.
Because it's for you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's personal. Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love it. I love it. I love it. I want to mention that Dr. Cotton not only came out, but with reading and writing and being able to have a different mindset than most people would have had. But he also earned his a doctorate in humanities. I just, again, just amazing, amazing, amazing. We've got to talk about the mindset. On a typical day, and I've interviewed several young men before, and even have some clients that I've published their books, and they tell me some of the horrible things that happen behind prison walls. And I interviewed a young man a couple months ago, and he similar to you, had the mindset like you, that this is just preparing me for on the other side. And he got out and done some things with his life. So on a typical day there, Dr. Marvin, where the circumstances don't look like progression, the circumstances don't look like, doctorate of humanities, what do you say to yourself to encourage yourself? This is where your faith kicks in. It's like a test of your faith. Like, do you really believe, or was this something that you just thought about, or do you really have the faith? What did that look like?
I actually, and I've just recently started talking about this. When I first got out, I told my right hand, my best friend, who's really more like a brother to me. And I told another friend of mine who I ended up marrying, but I told her as well, because I needed to have a witness for what God had showed me. Okay. So within a few days out, I told them how life for me was going to go because God had showed me early on. Now, I was arrested and convicted in 2001.
Okay.
So when my transformation in prison started to happen within, maybe like 2003, 2004, God started showing me pictures of what
Okay.
life would look like.
Yeah.
I didn't know, I didn't see all of the gray hairs in the pictures.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but I know I still looked at relatively young on those pictures
Yeah.
that God was showing me. And he showed me everything that I would be doing.
Hmm.
So for me, I knew that every day that I was in there and, preparing and, learn how to read and end up reading over 2,000 books in
Whoa.
that
Yeah.
time. I wrote several books while I was in there, wrote thousands of essays and letters to different organizations and attorneys and different people to look into my case and to help me,
Yeah.
and countless letters to family and friends. But I knew that everything that I was doing in there was preparing me for what I am doing right now.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean those days wasn't hard,
Right.
and that I didn't suffer with depression, a lot of depression throughout the years
Hmm.
of being in
Hmm.
there. But I knew that I would be free one day. I knew it because it had been shown to me.
Right.
And a lot of the moves that I'm making and the things that I'm doing with my life, everybody like, man, you doing this and you doing that. And, God showed it to me already. So it's
Yeah.
like, it's not hard for me because I'm just following. When I see something that looks like the picture he showed me, I know
Yeah.
that's the thing for me to do. And I move on it.
Yeah.
um so it's like here I go, I'm putting together a puzzle, and God
Hmm.
had already showed me a picture of what it's supposed to look like. So when I pick up a piece, I say I know where this go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my years in prison, although hard, I knew I would be free and I knew what I would be doing.
Yeah. Wow. That is a blessing. And that is the importance, and I'm going off on a different direction, but that is the importance of, and I always say the difference between relationship over religion,
Mhm.
because relationship is where you have a divine connection with the Lord outside of the four walls, where you are open to Him being able to talk to you, to show you things, where you're able to identify His voice and know when He's speaking to you. Had He not revealed Himself to you, you would not have had that ability to be able to hold on, to have the inspiration, to know that bigger and better was coming. So that I was just just thinking about that as the Lord revealing Himself to you slowly and leading you, like being your compass through, through the situation. Wow.
Yeah. and
Um,
and 20 years of course is a very long time, and
yeah,
each year was different. The beginning of the years I'm experiencing a lot of loss. I'm losing property, I'm losing relationships, I'm losing friends, I'm losing family,
yeah,
not only to the circumstance but also to death in some of those cases. So I'm
yeah,
losing and I'm losing and I'm losing, and then deeper into the years, when I really feel it wearing on me. I've been in here all of my 20s, all of my 30s. So
mm,
when I was 39, as my 40th birthday was approaching and I'm approaching a new decade,
yeah,
it was so hard on me.
yeah.
Um, I think that's the first time that I just didn't know how I was going to see 40 in prison.
Jesus.
Um, and,
Mm,
um, and it's like right when I got to that point, the doors opened up because I got out a month before I turned 41 years old. So,
Jesus. Big
even
God.
even getting
Wow.
close to that birthday, it was
Yeah.
torture because now I'm chopping into a whole new decade after
Mhm.
already spending two.
I just gotta breathe for a minute. Jesus, Jesus. Um, mm, the call that is on your life. Wow. Um, wow. I'm speechless right now. Dr. Marvin, we read our Bibles and we know about what the people in the Bible went through. But we're still living. We're still living out stories. The Lord is still using us, just like He used Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and these stories that we're living and that are transforming our lives so that we can transform the lives of others. I mean, it just continues. As I'm listening to your story, I'm just like, wow. The Lord will do some amazing things, and we don't always understand why and how He's gonna do them, but the call that is on your life, that's all I can say.
Yeah.
Wow.
What's important for me,
Yeah.
to make sure that I always remind people of is, um, all of our lives are significant, and we all going through something.
Yeah.
My circumstance may be more extreme because most people can't imagine themselves being in prison for 20 years for something they didn't do, and the torture of that. But you have
No.
people that have been tortured in relationships for 20 years,
Yeah.
or tortured in poverty for 20
Mm.
years, or tortured and born into the type of family that is just pulling them down
Yeah.
for
That's
all of
true.
their life. When we look at the figures in the Bible that's there to teach us something, it's
Yeah.
just showing a aspect of their life.
Yeah. Not the whole. Yeah.
It's not showing all of their interconnections and their relationships and all of their experiences. It's
Yeah.
showing it's showing us them in that light for a specific reason, and God's interaction in their life and their
Mhm.
purpose, or the lesson that we're supposed to learn from that particular figure in the Bible.
Yeah.
But we all are really living lives to where all of our stories can be scripture,
Oh
um,
yeah.
and can be a
Yeah.
lesson to either show somebody what not to do or how to persevere through a particular thing.
Yeah. What I say, Dr. Marvin, is so my life has been it's a whole bunch of books. Okay. And I've got almost 20 books about my life and my experiences, and the thing that if you read any of my books, what it says is that there is a God.
Absolutely.
My book says that there is a God and his name is Jesus, because that's who I was calling on: God the Father, Jesus the Son, the Holy Spirit. And so when you read my books, you know that there is a bigger plan and that there is a God, because of the things not only that he allowed, but how he is with us in them. Even with your situation, how he was with you, and he allowed some things to happen, but bringing you out on the other side. Wow. And the amazing work that you're doing now. I read this from your page: God, family, community, servant, the voice of the people, justice advocate, and then best selling author. I also read from your page that you were actually released less than 24 hours after walking out. You were able to attend your daughter's college graduation party.
Yeah.
Um, your daughter was born while you were in prison. Is that correct?
No, she was 2.5 when I
Two and
was
a half.
arrested.
Okay.
Yeah, she was two and a
Two and
half
a
when I
half.
was arrested.
Okay.
And she doesn't remember me before prison. All she can her furthest memories that she has is
Okay.
me, wearing prison blues.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
so every when she graduated elementary school, she started asking, like, when you coming home? Are you going to be at my graduation?
Yeah.
And my response to her was always, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
working on it. I'm working on it. In
Yeah.
middle school, she graduated. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
High school, she graduated. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
And it really beat me down every time that I wasn't able to make those moments.
Hmm.
Um, so when she graduated high school, of course, that knocked me down a lot. And then she graduated college, and
Yeah.
it was like, I'm really supposed to be there and I had no idea that I would be walking out,
Yeah.
shortly thereafter. She graduated early. She actually graduated almost a year early. So had she stayed on schedule, I would have actually been there. But
Right.
but she
Right.
but she graduated early, and thankfully, I was able to be at her surprise graduation party that was planned long before
Yeah.
um, I had any idea that I would be out. So
That is amazing. That is amazing. So listen, let's jump in, and why don't we start with your book? We've gotten to know Dr. Marvin Cotton Jr., the man. Tell us about your book, Better Not Broken. And I do want to say his book is available on Amazon.com as well as on his personal website that is also in the comments. So you can buy it from his personal website, which would be the better thing. And then tell us all about it.
well, Better Not Broken. It's my first published book.
Mhm.
I am a best-selling author, so it did pretty well out the gate. Better Not Broken is it's a self-help book, but I
Okay.
wrote it like an autobiography because I wanted to have that raw experience of people walking through and seeing things through my eyes as I went through the process. But
Mm,
it's a self-help book because at the end of each chapter, I'm
mm,
I'm making it make sense. This is what I was going through. This is how I look at it now. This is what I believe God was doing in my life, and this is how I made it through. The
okay.
reason that I wrote this book is because people would always ask me, "How did you get through that?" I
Yeah,
could never get through that. How did you get through it?
yeah,
And I thought about it. I said, everybody's going through stuff that nobody else wants to go through.
yeah,
So how do
yeah,
they get through that? So I said, I must write a book that will help people get through whatever they're going through because I'm going to show them how I got through what it is that I went through. So it's raw stories in here about the process of my wrongful conviction and the process that I went through and
yeah,
how that impacted me and what I needed to do internally to get through those things. So that's what my book is about. And just a warning, you're going to cry a lot during the beginning.
mm,
But at the end, you towards the middle, the end, you're not going to be able to put it down. I get the same response from everybody. And I usually don't
yeah,
tell people that on the front end, but everybody cries at the beginning,
yeah.
but they can't put it down afterwards.
You heard that here. Go out and get his book, Better Not Broken. He has a whole page with different products. His book, there's t-shirts, all kinds of things to support a journal. You can read the book and then journal as you're reading the book. Go back and reflect. You would be surprised when you journal, what you may feel or think today, and then you go back, weeks or months later, and you're surprised at what you even wrote yourself. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I found some notes and some journals that I've had when I was in prison.
yeah. Mm,
And it took me about 2 years to even open the property that I brought out of prison with me. It took me about 2 years just to go in it.
yeah.
Um, so I found some notes and I remember,
Hmm.
where I was at when I was writing those notes, you
Yeah.
know. Um,
Mentally.
yeah, so definitely what you said is always great to write those things down because I wrote things down that carried me through.
Mm,
And I
wow.
wrote things down that inspired and gave me ideas to put
Yeah.
into future projects.
That's what I was just thinking. You've got a lot more books to put out, Dr. Marvin.
Oh yeah, I'm
Um,
working on my next one now. I'm looking to start putting it out there in the next few weeks.
okay. Okay. Now, tell us about the organization of exonerees. Tell us a little bit about how it got started and what exactly are you guys doing with the organization?
The organization of exonerees is, very near and dear to my heart. I am a co-founder and the vice president of this particular organization. Um, Kenneth Nixon, he's the president. That's like my partner in anti-crime. We go all over the country. We travel together, probably the most of any and everybody that I travel with. and Anthony Legion, who was also wrongfully convicted with me. He was my co-defendant. He's the secretary, and he's a great legal mind that's helping a lot of people out as well. But the Organization of Exonerees is a board and an organization that is completely made up of innocent people that spent time in prison for crimes that they did not commit. All of us were exonerated one way or another. There's different processes that can end you at that resort, that result. And there were gaps when you're on parole. Somebody get released on parole. They clearly have a guilty conviction, and they get out, and there's resources for them because they're on parole. The state still has responsibility and ties to them. But when you are exonerated, meaning that you are innocent and you were never supposed to be in prison, and it's no longer on your record, they kick you out the door and they throw their hands up.
Wow. That's crazy.
You hire lawyers, they hire lawyers, and they fight you as if you did something wrong. So that's what happens when somebody's exonerated. When they're exonerated, they walk out. If they've been in prison for 20 years like me, they walk out to nothing. Not even the type of relationships. Most successful people have relationships from high school, college, their first job, just a network of people to where they can walk away from a job and just go through their network and find and build a whole new life because they have this network they've been working on and working with for years. I spent 20 years in prison. I have 20 years of not having a network, 20 years of not building those type of relationships and resources. So you get exonerated, you get kicked out the door, and everybody throws their hands up, and then they start to fight you because the system is set up to fight you. It's not set up to figure out what is the just thing to do. It's only set up to fight you. So the Organization of Exonerees, we formed this organization and founded it because we fill in the gaps. We make sure when someone gets out, we can get them housing, we can get money in their pocket, we put money in their hands, we take them shopping. We know a lot of the hurdles that they're going to face. We're out here building a network they can pull from. We know that they don't have one. We have guys that have done 46, 47 years in prison where everybody in their family is dead. They don't have anyone. Yes, we have people that have done 47, 48 years in prison and have nothing. So our support is absolutely necessary. We're filling in the gaps where the state is failing to fill in the gaps because we're a small population and resources is not allocated to things that are not a thing. Especially things to where the government is still kind of denying that there are even innocent people in the prison system, and they definitely don't want to build any apparatus to take care of innocent people once they're released. So we're doing it from our nonprofit Organization of Exonerees, and we travel around the country doing advocacy work, trying to make policy changes and help innocent people get out all over. But here in Michigan, we have wraparound services for our exonerees.
Now, you don't have to necessarily be in Michigan to receive help. Is that correct?
Advocacy we do all over the country, but you have to be in Michigan in order to receive our wraparound services.
Okay, gotcha.
We're a small nonprofit. I pray for the day that we could become big enough to do it all over the country, the way that we do it here in Michigan. But we don't leave any of our people behind here in Michigan at all, and we take really good care of those needs that come up.
Let me ask you this: if someone wanted to start a system like this in another state, would they be able to reach out to you guys and just kind of get some heads up on what this entails?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We have great relationships with exonerees all over the country, and even in some places around the world. Every year there's a conference This year it's in March, I believe, March or April.
Okay.
I just registered for it. But there's a conference every year where hundreds and even thousands of exonerees come together. Attorneys, people that's in the legal world comes together
Hmm.
and spend a weekend there talking about different ideas and the different things that we're going through. So we get to know exonerees all over the country, and we travel a lot as well, and we work on a lot of different cases all over as well. So yeah, we're definitely open to show anyone how we do what it is that we do here in Michigan.
Yeah. So if you happen to be watching, this is something that you're interested in being a part of. If you're not in the Michigan area, Dr. Marvin's contact information is in the text where you can contact him, email him to kind of get an idea of how to start an organization in your state. This is something that is much needed. So we
Yeah,
definitely want you to be able get those balls rolling and try to see what you can do to help your community. Okay.
yeah,
Um,
we are the only exoneree ran organization that's a part of the Innocence Network. And that's a pretty big thing. All of the other organizations that's a part of the Innocence Networks are like the Innocence Project, for example, the
mhm.
New York Innocence Project. You have innocence clinics in different states. You have these big, powerful organizations that's a part of the Innocence Network, and we're
Mhm.
blessed enough to recently have become a member of that network.
Very good. Very good. I'm very happy to hear that. You're doing some amazing work. I salute you for answering the call. I think it's amazing what you're doing. So selfless is what comes to mind. Just selfless, seeing the bigger picture and the vision that the Lord has given you, and just being able to walk in that. And you're going to be. You are not going to be. You're already such a blessing to so many people. I can't
Thank you.
even imagine how many lives you've touched that you know about, and so many that you probably don't know about. But I just encourage you to continue to do what you're doing. You're doing an amazing job
Thank you.
reaching lives. How can someone get in touch with you? I know I've got a couple of the platforms, but how can they get in touch with you on what social media platforms are you available on, Dr. Marvin?
I'm on LinkedIn, Marvin Cotton Jr. on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook, Marvin Cotton Jr. Also have a business page on Facebook, Better Not Broken. Also on Instagram, I have a business page on Instagram, Better Not Broken. I also have a personal page on Instagram as well, which is the_real_FMC. The FMC means free Marvin Cotton. So I guess maybe I have to come up with another term now because I'm free now. But
You're already free, yeah.
yeah, but yeah, I'm very accessible. I know people have questions all the time. I get reached out to all the time, all day,
Yeah.
about loved ones that's
Mm,
incarcerated, whether it's for resources. Not only do I work with innocent people because that's my story. I work
yeah.
with those that may have ended up in prison for something that they did do, and they getting out and they need to rebuild their life.
Right.
Our communities are safer if they can rebuild their life.
Right.
So
Right.
any hurdles that I can help them overcome, especially if they're in Michigan, I can always give advice no matter where you're
Mhm.
from. But if you're here in Michigan, I like to plug guys in with trades, jobs,
Mhm.
opportunities, and just
Right.
mentor them and hopefully inspire them to step up in such a way that they can begin to do the same thing for others.
That's amazing. Amazing. And we talked about that earlier. Mindset is everything.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, mindset. Just add a D to make the word freed. Miss Cynthia Ferguson is watching, and she said, just add a D to make it freed.
Yeah. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, that's a good one. Thank you all for tuning in. All of you that are watching tonight, listen, I need you to like, tag, and share. There are so many people that need to be able to watch this interview tonight. Dr. Marvin is doing some amazing things. These are stories that need to be heard. I need you to make sure to share this. Whoever you know that needs to hear this, make sure that they get this episode in their hands to give them some encouragement if they're going through this. Even if they're not going through this, everybody may know somebody. And so the resources that he's talked about tonight, the program that he's working with, as well as the fact that they're willing to give you information to start this in your state, please make sure to put this information in somebody's hand, okay? I want to ask you a couple of questions as we get ready to come to a close here, Dr. Marvin. What would you say to the younger you? What would you say to your younger self?
Read. learn learn how to read. I would talk to the younger me if I had an opportunity to spend time. I don't think a conversation is enough for anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But if I had an opportunity to spend time with the younger me, reading would be the number one focus. Emotional intelligence
Mm-hmm.
would definitely be second. Um, and strategy and how to think, how to forecast and look at the future, how not to just be a talker but a doer, actually execute
Mm-hmm.
plans.
Right.
Um, I wish that I had someone like me now
Yeah.
that had the type of mindset that could have built the type of trust to get someone like me when I was younger to listen.
Yeah. Wow. That's very deep. What you just said. Oh, wow. Say that again.
Reading, emotional intelligence, and a strategic mind, and the ability to execute. Don't be a talker. Don't be a dreamer. Be a
Yeah.
doer.
Yeah. And to get someone to get to
Oh,
get you to listen.
oh yeah. The trust is necessary. The
Yeah.
world is filled with good people. There's some good people out here. It
Mm-hmm.
is. It's some great people. It's some good people out here. But just because someone's good don't mean they have the ability to build trust with someone to pour into them,
Right.
um, or even have access.
Mm-hmm.
The reason that I'm able to have access with guys in the hood is because I come from the hood.
Right.
I come from the streets. I come
Yeah.
from in the streets.
Yeah.
So I understand, and I have the type of credibility that although I've transformed my entire life, I can
Yeah.
still reach in the neighborhood and people trust me
Gotcha.
enough to listen.
Yeah.
Um, and even if you're not a credible messenger in that way, you can still
Yeah.
be a trusted messenger
Mm-hmm.
and go and
Yeah.
pour.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. You have dropped some amazing nuggets, and whew, this has been good. This has been really good, and this has blessed me. This has blessed me in just hearing your story, and not only hearing your story, but your mindset after all of this. That's why again I said, you encompass all three: the healing, the empowerment, and the transformation. And that's what our lives are all about, is being able to reach back and help other people. If we can get out of ourselves more, we would be able to help other people. Miss Cynthia Ferguson, one of our viewers, says amazing story. Yes ma'am, amazing story. And we've got to get that book, Better Not Broken. You have got to get the book. Again, his website is listed. Make sure that you go to his website and buy the book. um, I've got this thing. I'm thinking about this, and I'm assuming that in the prison system they're able to watch YouTube and different things of that sort. So I'm gonna ask you this, Dr. Marvin, to all of the men that are currently serving sentences and they're actually innocent. They're watching this program. What do you say to them?
Number one, don't give up. Do not give up on yourself. Um, I know it can be frustrating when you're trying to convince a system that is not designed to listen,
Hmm.
or a system that's not designed to correct itself. But you have to persevere. There's people out here, there's organizations out here that they're designed to help. Doesn't mean that it's not going to be difficult, but don't give up. And in the process of you fighting this war to prove your innocence, because that's essentially what it is, you're fighting a war to prove your innocence. In that war, don't destroy those closest to you in that pursuit. Because sometimes we can be so caught up in our fatigues that we're wearing, in the war that we're in. Sometimes we can add unnecessary pressure and undue pressure to those closest to us because they really all we have. Sometimes we only have one or two people, and they can't do everything. So build relationships, build your family and your friends up to support you. Build them up with knowledge, build them up with encouragement, to be able to support you, but also build new relationships with law students, with attorneys, with organizations. Be real clear in why it is that you're innocent, and stay focused. Read the law, and don't make moves that can put you at a disadvantage. Sometimes, innocent people file some ridiculous things in the court systems, and it can really put them at a disadvantage. And that's just what it is. But desperation sometimes can cause people to, they just want out of prison. I'm not supposed to be here. I want out of prison, and I want out of prison now. But stay focused and never give up.
I like that. Stay focused and never give up. Build the relationships with your loved ones. Don't get caught in the war. Yeah, because you're not in battle against your loved ones. I like that. I'm going to give you 3 words, and I would like for you to tell me your thought about the one that stands out the most. Healing, empowerment, or transformation?
Healing, most certainly, because without healing being first and primary, if you're empowered with any type of power and you're not healed, everything you touch is going to have the fingerprint of your unhealed self on it. And you're going to be moving reality with that power. And you're going to be moving reality in a hurt way opposed to a healed way. So healing has to come first. And transformation is a powerful thing, which means you have to be empowered in order to transform. But if you're not healed, what would you transform into? Because transformation is a beautiful word. Yeah. But it goes both ways.
Yeah, that's true.
You can transform. You can transform into a person that's really striving to be righteous, or you can transform into someone that is hell bent on doing the wrong thing. And when you're unhealed, you can look as beautiful as someone that is doing the right thing, and you're making it look good, but you're really doing the wrong thing. So healing has to come first, so that we're not damaging and hurting other people or things in the process of us moving through life.
Yeah. Oh, that's another good word. Another good word. Another good word. Listen, it has been a pleasure interviewing you tonight, Dr. Marvin Cotton Jr. Better Not Broken. Organization of exonerees. You have to take a look at his brand, follow him, see what's going on in the great state of Michigan. But not only that, if you want to start an organization in your state, reach out. His email is in the notes as well, so that you can find out how to make a difference in your state. Thank you so much, Dr. Marvin, for having this conversation with me tonight. I really appreciate you being here. If you would just hang tight. To all of the viewers, thank you again for tuning in tonight for another episode of the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show. Make sure that you tune in again on Thursday. We will have another amazing guest here on Thursday. Remember, get the book, check out his website, like, tag, and share, subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you share this interview with someone that needs to hear it. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you, dear minister.
If you would like to be a guest on the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show, email Stephanie at stephaniemseatontheauthor@gmail.com.